Right, so guys,
That's the start valve right there.
it is. So Bob's, sorry,
Yes. I know.
Bob's.
It'll feel a little odd at first, and then it'll feel weird when you don't say it.
To my other friends.
All your other Bob.
That'll be
friends will be
terrifying.
Bobs now.
So guys, welcome to Dublin. You've got great weather.
Sunny,
Yeah.
Sunny Ireland is, I think, the new tourism.
Yeah, it seems it. Yeah, and it's been great since you've been here since Tuesday now.
Oh, I don't know when we
You
got.
tell us. We lost track of time.
But we forgot our swimsuits, and we didn't know, because I think there's apparently you guys are being sneaky and saying it rains all the time. Apparently, it's like this is the norm.
But we've got a heat wave now, apparently. So.
Yes.
Sweltering.
So you came onto the project. You came onto Planes, Fire and Rescue. Was there ever a temptation to stick with the same kind of formula, to continue Dusty's journey as a racing plane? Or did you immediately think, okay, we need to just take him away from all he knows?
Well, yeah, that's okay. So when we make additional films in our sort of world we're working in with these sort of anthropomorphized vehicles, one of the things we like to do is change the genre. So because that way we'll less likely be derivative of the previous film. But we don't just sort of randomly decide things. It all comes from research. Research informs the storytelling. So when we started working on thinking about another story with Dusty, I just looked at the plane itself and discovered, and the information's in the movie, that in real life it's used. That plane is really used in aerial firefighting as a seat, a single engine air tanker. So that's what led us into the world of aerial firefighting. And ultimately, it seemed like an exciting world that would give us a different feeling film. It's more of an action comedy.
Yes.
And then we also looked at the plane by Dusty as a crop duster. He pushed himself to compete with world-class racers. His engine's been, worked and tweaked a bit to the point where in real life it would have been stressed.
Yeah.
So the idea of the theme of second chances, the sort of injured athlete story, also came out of what would really have happened. So we really try to look like what would really happen, not just let's change things to change things.
Yeah.
No. What
there was
would
purpose,
really happen? And so when we went and pitched these ideas that his engine would be stressed, that in real life he's used in wildfire air attack. Historically, the very first aerial firefighting team was a group of crop dusters in California.
Yeah, I read that. That was the point of your press releases, wasn't it?
Right. That's all real information that made us know that we were on to something. And that's where we started.
And so you've both been a part of Disney for a while, Fox and the Hound 2, the Stitch sequels. This is your first kind of chance into computer animation. What's it like, the difference now, directing and producing a computer animated film to a traditional? Is there a lot of freedoms there? Is there restrictions?
Well, no. There's it's a different form of making a movie. I mean, what hasn't changed is story.
Yeah.
Story is always the king and our driving force, and it's always about whatever we have to do to produce and make a great story on the screen. For this movie, the effects was the big challenge. The CG actually, certainly lends itself more to this world, this mechanical world of vehicles.
Yeah.
Because we like to say it's truth in materials. We like for the vehicles to be truthful to what they, as they're built. We say when the airplanes are in the sky, they're aircraft, and we want them to move and act like aircraft. And when they're on the ground, that's when they're actually characters. So we're very careful with our modeling so that they really look and feel real.
Yeah, like when Dusty would take up water in those scenes.
Totally. That's why the flight crew, our flight animators and the consultants are so important to us, because we want all the flight to look accurate. That's the first thing. And what's different from the second one is that we kind of inherited that same flight team for fixed-wing aircraft. The first movie, we have helicopters in our movie.
Yeah.
This one, two main characters, so we had a flight consultant with helicopters come in to be sure that that's real. But the CG world really kind of definitely lends itself to this, and then the effects certainly was key for us, because we wanted the effects to look real, and that has to be obviously computer-generated fire effects.
Yeah.
So we spent over 2.5 years making that fire to look and feel real and be sure it was producible. So that was a big thing for us. Over half our movie has effects in it.
Yeah.
Over 660 shots, fire, smoke, and water, and that's a big deal in the effects world.
Yeah, especially in that climatic scene
well,
surrounding the hotel.
You want to make a world that's believable.
Yeah.
That you, the audience, feel like you're immersed in, because that only helps elevate the storytelling.
Yes, very much so.
In a world of firefighting, a world of national parks, with those great grand vistas, the trees and the foliage. I mean, you want to really feel like you're there. So that's where I think CG really, lends itself to helping you kind of help support your storytelling.
It also, I'll just throw that in there. You got to do as much things as you can to get you to forget that they are talking vehicles and get you sort of invested in the world. I mean, that's done by telling a great story, having great, having a true emotion, having the character struggle with something that's a real, interesting, point. In this case, will I ever race again? But we do technical things too, which is the flight is accurate, but right down to the camera work. When we have a camera, we treat it like a live action camera. Where is the camera? Is it on a dolly? Is it a crane? Is it attached to the airplane? Am I in a helicopter with a long lens trying to grab this shot? So by having it filmically feel like a live action movie, it starts to feel, you sort of kind of settle into it because it feels comfortable to you, and you just sort of forget that it's talking vehicles. So even though you can do anything with the camera you'd want to, we don't. We treat the camera very real. And that's one of the other little sort of tricks we use to make it feel like you're actually to get you to forget that they are sort of anthropomorphized vehicles.
And Farrell, you were saying there that a very integral part of making a genuinely good film is story. What about you, Bobs? What would you say is the most integral aspect? Is it the cast? Is it the characters? Is it the animation?
No, it's the story.
It's definitely story.
All of that's for naught if you don't have a great story. You can have the best effects in the world, the most fantastic actors, the greatest composer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
If you're not telling a story that's worth telling, there's no reason to do it. So that's why. And then the story just boils down to what is your main character struggling with. I mean, that's what it boils down to. It's like all the way down to your main character and their emotional challenge to them.
Yeah.
So that's the nugget that you have to have. And then it's lovely in our case when we came up with the second chances and we discovered that the air attack bases are made up of secondhand material, closet huts. Most of all except one vehicle in the world of aerial firefighting was not built for that. It was built a former military aircraft or former commercial aircraft that was repurposed. Fire itself is about burning away the old and sort of a way to allowing for new growth. So we found this little nugget, and then we discovered as we were making the movie that theme sort of kind of threaded through other elements of the story, and that's when you know that you're doing that's working out. So, end of the day, story is the most important thing.
But it does help that you have an incredible cast you have Dane Cook, you have Stacey Keach, and they're all bolstered with great comedic actors. You've got John Cleese and Curtis Armstrong and Patrick Warburton.
Right.
What was it like bringing such talent like that on?
Well, what you want to do when you're creating the personalities for these vehicles is you look at the character or look at the vehicle itself. What's the personality you get from that vehicle? Look at who designed that vehicle. Where was it manufactured? What year was it manufactured? Those are all things that help to define it. Then you look at who flies that plane, who drives that car, what are they like? And then once you've sort of created that character, we want to go find actors that embody the spirit of that. So we have Ed Harris, who's like a no-nonsense sort of straight shooter playing Blade Ranger, who's a no-nonsense straight shooter who's all about the safety of his team. And you have Julie Bowen, who's comes pre-caffeinated with her sort of high-energy, buoyant, lovely, charming
stalkerish
personality / we like to say hopeful. And then she comes in, but her character was like Dusty would have big fans. He's a world-class racer now.
True.
So again, we don't just go in and kind of sort of plug in types like we need. Like we don't have a checklist. And we're just ticking off the boxes of what we need. You really think what would really happen in that world. Windlifter, Wes Studi, who's a Cherokee Indian, is playing our Native American heavy lift helicopter. In the world of firefighting, Native Americans have a history of being involved in wildfire fighting, especially smoke jumpers. And so it was natural for us to have a Cherokee Indian character in the movie. So I'd say 90% of our choices are tethered to some sort of truth. And the other 10% are the ones you have to make to sort of kind of smooth it all over.
Well, lads, thanks very much. Bob's Gannaway and Ferrell Barron, thank you very much.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure meeting you two.